Hi, it's Bumbleberry. I know what you're all really here for. You're beginning to feel a bit elated at the idea of walking to the train with Faye. The stress of the morning needed to be burnt away with a workout, and I knew that Faye would teach me something to take my mind off of it. It became like a game, a relief away from the reality of the world. I made my way to the Grand Hall and stopped at the doorway, looking and taking in the sight of Faye sleeping on the ground, spread eagle style. It's super attractive, Faye. Thank you for sharing that. It took every ounce of control I had not to laugh hysterically at the sounds Faye was releasing as they slept. To think such sounds came out of such a cute-looking demon-like Faye seemed rather bizarre and cartoon-like. Nevertheless, I knew I had to get started on training. The boys were most likely in the midst of their own training as I stood there, so I couldn't exactly spend time watching Faye snore. I guess I could. I could be like, I'm taking a break today. Who cares about the Demon Lord? I stepped quietly into the room, drawing closer to Faye's body as I tried to think of how to wake them up. I kind of want to scare them. A booga booga booga! It was only going to be a little scare. A little fun never hurt anyone, right? I tiptoed further into the room, making sure not to wake up Faye as I approached them and encircled around them. As I finally stood behind their head, I crouched down and cut my hands together. Faye jolted up like they had been zapped by a bolt of lightning and shot themselves into the air like a rocket before slamming their head onto the ceiling. Oh, sorry. Oh my gosh, Faye? The temporary hilarity I felt as I scared Faye quickly vanished at the sound of their head colliding with the ceiling, echoed through the room, and the fairy in question quickly descended, holding their head. Faye, I am so sorry.
It's okay. Ow. I needed to wake up anyways.
My bad. My bad. I'm very embarrassed and ashamed of what I chose to do. Well, fine. Fine then. I will go, and I will wake her up, or them up patiently, okay? Not that patience is one of my virtues, but we'll do it. We'll wait. I didn't want to do anything ridiculous. Scaring them could make them shoot up and hit the ceiling. For all I knew. I stepped slowly into the room and sat on the ground, watching Faye sleep and snore. It was more humorous to see them sleep up close, watching their nose and mouth widen with each snore they inhaled and released. Soon 10 minutes went by with me twiddling my thumbs and waiting. I pressed my lips together, wondering if Faye was ever going to wake up. Before I could reach over and tap Faye, however, which I don't know why you wouldn't do that in the first place, they stopped snoring and scrunched their face up, letting out a tired groan. Faye at last opened their eyes and looked up at me, adjusting their sight to take me in with slowly a forming grin.
Oh! You're early.
You're late. Well, actually, I've been sitting here for the past 10 minutes. Training was supposed to start already? Faye stared at me for a moment before rolling up onto their legs and lifting themselves off of the ground, determined to fully awaken. I stood following suit and watched as Faye shook out their head. Faye wiggled their arms. I feel like I need to do some wiggling exercises, and let out a tired sigh before blowing raspberries with their mouth and slamming their hands against their cheeks.
I am awake!
Yes, you are. I had to cover my mouth to stop the burst of laughter that wanted to erupt from my gut at the exclamation. Faye became full of energy, like it was the flip of a switch. I became mildly jealous of such a feat. Nevertheless, I was eager and ready for my next training session. I placed my arms at my sides and straightened my back, showing the posture of determination and attention. What will we be doing today? Faye looked over at me, looking for some sort of answer in my eyes. Despite showing the sudden energy spark like a light bulb earlier, they remained silent for a moment. Were they not sure? I hoped that today wouldn't be going over the thorn bush again. As much as it was a cool trick, casting a thorn bush into existence from dawn to dusk was not as fun as many would imagine it to be, even with hilarious breaks in between. Finally, a glimmer twinkled in Faye's eyes, making them grin from ear to ear at me.
I know what we're gonna do!
What are we gonna do? What? With a burst of energy, Faye shot themselves into the air and spun around before flipping upside down in the air towards me.
I'm gonna teach you how to fly!
Oh yeah. What? Fly? I believe I can fly. My mind completely blanked on itself. Fly? I was going to really be taught how to fly? I didn't have wings. How the heck was I going to do that? a pinch of fairy dust, and happy thoughts. Faye nodded ecstatically before swooping down and flying around me.
It's so easy. You just need to imagine yourself floating in the air and boom, you'll be flying in no time.
Faye, your magic does not work exactly that way for humans. I grimaced, watching Faye fly around me. I suddenly felt like I was in Peter Pan and had to think happy thoughts and go to the second star to the right to Neverland. Well, Faye was a fairy, so I suddenly imagine you as Tinkerbell, Faye.
Tinker who?
You don't know who Tinkerbell is. How dare you? Right? Demon world, not human world. Never mind. Faye stopped circling me and stared for a moment before shrugging and floating away from me, crossing their arms proudly and physically imitating Sargent.
Now get those feet off the ground!
I looked down at the ground at my boot-covered feet. Making a thorn bush was one thing. Making myself fly was another. I tried to imagine it, but there was no energy in my body that would respond to such a request. How the heck was I gonna fly? I can think happy thoughts or try and sprout wings. Let's try and sprout wings. Yeah. When I was in a children's book, I was certain that logic would help me out. I had formed an orb and thorn bush out of thin air. Wings should have been the same deal, right? I closed my eyes and relaxed my body, trying to focus on the sides of my spine. I had to think of anatomy. Where would my wings go? I concentrated on 2 points on my upper back, guiding my energy to those spots. I began to imagine what kind of wings I would spawn. Angelic, bat-like, the possibilities seemed endless. A wave of excitement ran through me. This was going to be so cool. However, after almost a full minute of concentration, nothing seemed to occur. I opened my eyes and looked down at myself. My feet were still on the ground and nothing changed within me. You know what? I think Faye is a crap teacher, but I still like her. A flash of anger sparked within me. How difficult was it to lift off the ground? How the heck can I fly? As soon as the words burst from my mouth, I shot my hands down in anger, only to be vaulted into the air by some sort of energy force beneath my feet. My body quickly shot up, defying gravity and sending me towards the ceiling. I have magical fists.
Whoa!
Faye quickly zipped over towards me and grabbed me, intercepting my quick ascent to the ceiling while holding me closer to them. It was like being held by a very strong child as their small frame barely lined up from my shoulder to my knee. It hit me for a split moment. Faye was ridiculously small. She has her own theme song, it sounds like. Nevertheless, I gripped onto Faye, thankful I wasn't going to crash into the wood above us, and looked around in awe. I was really in the air, flying, or at least being held up by some force. I could feel energy cycle around and through my body, most likely keeping me afloat. I could fly. I looked at Faye with growing excitement of the situation. This was the best feeling ever! Whee! Faye grinned before slowly letting me go, proving they weren't holding me up and I wasn't imagining anything. Holy crap. Pure elation rushed through me as I merely measured the distance between my feet and the floor. I was in the air, slowly bobbing up and down like Faye, floating freely against gravity. Take that, Mr. Newton. I did it!
You did it! You're flying!
I willed my body forward, feeling the air around me slowly guide me. In obedience, the energy in my body moved me through the space. It was incredibly odd feeling the air slightly brush against my entire body, but I was indeed moving forward. A large grin graced my face as I became more determined with my neutral commands. Oh, my mental commands. I don't know how I read. I flew towards Faye and circled towards them before suddenly flying around the space. I felt as free as a bird, letting my mind naturally drive me in each direction I wanted to go in.
There we go! You're getting it!
I'm glad after 2 minutes of concentration I was able to get it. Out of pure adrenaline, I arched my back and did a little flip in the air before rocketing back forward and gliding over to turn away from the wall I was quickly approaching. The rush of this new power became addicting, and I wanted to do more with it. Still, I couldn't deny the effects losing this power was putting me in. I could feel my energy quickly drain away the longer I remained in the air. A slight tingling sensation ran over my legs and hands, reminding me I had a limited amount of energy. It would be funny if I just, skidded to a stop. I mentally took note of it and floated over to Faye, putting a lid on my over-enthusiastic glee from the new power, and preparing myself for further instruction. Alright, I can fly now? What's next? Faye laughed before planting their hands on their hips.
You really like flying, huh?
I couldn't help but nod. This was the most exciting thing I had done in the demon world thus far. It was like I was a superhero or something. I barely had to think about staying up to remain in the air, and it was increasingly making me giddy. Faye grinned before circling around me and gesturing me to follow them.
Then let's have a little fun! Come on!
Within the blink of an eye, Faye zipped out of the room and into the hall. Where are we going? Not wanting to lose them, I willed myself forward. And we're doing the chase. We're doing a building. And we're going fast. The demons and decor. We're just barely managing to dodge. Whoa, hi.
Ah!
Oh, hello.
Sorry, not sorry!
I can't believe you said that. Despite ducking and dodging each speed bump in the halls, I couldn't help but laugh at the thrill of the experience. Faye looked back at me and laughed as well, but suddenly dropped their expression.
Ah!
Almost with a screeching halt, Faye turned their body back upright and stopped going forward, holding out their hands and stopping me as well. To my surprise, Faye managed to stop me without budging from their place like they were a perfect brick wall. Why did Faye stop? I turned upright as well, suddenly confused. Faye, however, floated forward ever so slightly and looked into a nearby room, peeking over the corner of the barely opened doorway. Out of my own curiosity, I did as well, feeling my energy die out and lower me to stand on the floor. What's up, Diana? You sound frustrated. It was the war room. Her hands are gripping the edges like angry vices, ready to break it. How did Faye know Diana was in here? And what the heck was Diana upset about?
How could a squad of scouts be found and slaughtered by a band of wild harpies?
Diana seemed to answer the question, but my mind began to try and imagine what she had said. Harpies existed? A squad of scouts were out and killed? Yes. Thank you, Mika. I looked up at Faye, seeing them press their lips together in worry as they stared at the succubus. As I turned to look back at Diana, however, I silently gasped and covered my mouth at what I laid my eyes upon. Around Diana's body was a black and purple fiery aura, flickering frighteningly in the air around her as she dug her nails into the wood of the table. Holy smokes, girl. You hardcore.
I'll have to search for it myself then. But where to start?
What are we looking for? Before I could watch further, suddenly afraid of Diana, Faye grabbed my shirt and quickly pulled me away from the door, making sure to cover the hand I had placed over my mouth with their own for safety.
Let's go. We should get back to training.
I know you're trying to murder her, Faye. I won't do it. Although I will for the points sometimes. Or the achievement. Without even giving me an explanation or a chance to break free, Faye guided me back to the training hall. My mind became full of questions, but as we returned to the training hall, Faye became almost like a military sergeant. I had to practice flying and forming my thorn bush to build my How much is this? I had to practice flying and forming my thorn bush to build my stamina until the end of the day. By then I was too exhausted to ask questions and just returned to my room. So maybe tomorrow. The last day ended. Not really. I was tired and ready to hit the pillow, but as I entered, I stared at who was there waiting for me. Saero? Hi. He's staring hard at me as if I had done something wrong.
Do you know what a stone destiny is?
Yeah. No, obviously not. A stone destiny? I had never heard of such a thing. Did it have to do with the angels? I tilted my head, making Saero sigh and lower his head.
A stone destiny binds a person's entire life towards a specific direction. It could be for good, it could be for evil. However, when a stone destiny is set, almost nothing can stop it from taking its course.
Oh, why are you bringing this up? Saero looked at me and closed his eyes, resolved in explaining to me whatever was on his mind.
I believe that your fiancé is locked in a stone destiny.
Lies. What? This made no sense. James was locked in stone destiny? What did that have to do with anything? Where did this come from? As Saero watched my expression, he continued to speak.
There is only one way to forge a stone destiny, by making a deal with angels. If someone is willing to give angels something worthy, the angels can set and seal someone's life as if in stone. If anything threatens to destroy that destiny, the angels step in.
Oh, so they want to get rid of me so that he can, rule the demon world or whatever. That was it. That was why the angels were after me. If James was tied to a stone destiny, then the only reason they were attacking me was because I was in the way of his fate. How could that be, though? What was his destiny? To rule the demon world! There you go, to become the next demon lord. Something in my mind clicked at the thought. Of course, that had to be it. I had taken James away from his destiny and was about to marry him. Of course they would be after me. I sat on my bed, shocked and astonished at the news. I felt somewhat relieved that James and I had found a way to stop them, but I still felt the weight of the new information sinking into my thoughts. Saero stepped towards the door and closed it, looking to me.
Breaking a stone destiny is nearly impossible. Nearly.
We can do it. I looked up at him, anxiousness growing as he repeated the word. There was a way to fix this and set James free? Then how can we set him free from it?
By giving him enough energy to do so himself.
You want an orgy? Is that what you're saying, Saero? I stared. It made sense, but giving him energy meant probably sleeping with him. I didn't have much of a problem with it, but sex wasn't something I wanted to do just because it had to be done. And plus, we've already slept with him, so, why doesn't he have enough power yet? It was better to make love when the people involved were in the mood to do so, rather than they had to. Saero turned back to the door.
He is a powerful incubus, but he isn't powerful enough to break through his destiny unless you help him.
Yeah, okay, thanks, Saero. Before he left, however, I stopped him. Something seemed off with Saero being the one to tell me. He better not have to sleep with Diana. Why are you telling me instead of Diana?
She isn't aware of it. Not many demons know of it or even believe it to be an actual occurrence.
What? Then how do you know about it? Saero seemed to stand still, letting silence linger in the air. The room began to feel off as Saero stood in his place. I'd had this feeling before, but I couldn't pin down where. Oh, he looks angry again. Finally, Saero turned his head to me, causing me to silently gasp at what was revealed. In his gold eyes were crosses, excuse me, glowing a dark black where his pupils were. The feeling of feathers once again danced around me, causing me to quiver slightly.
Does that answer your question?
You have holy magic. That explains more. I nodded slowly but frightfully. Saero was an angel? How? He looked like a demon. No one mentioned him being anything close to an angel other than him using holy magic. Did Diana not know either? How is this hidden? Exactly. Saero closed his eyes and relaxed a bit as he pressed his lips into a fine line.
I love my lady. I would follow her to the ends of the 5 worlds if she demanded it of me. To see the man she was bound to wed here, locked by a destiny that would have taken my love away long ago. It's maddening. The longer he stays here, the more dangerous his destiny becomes. I've seen visions of what would come to pass if his destiny is fulfilled, and I will do everything to make sure that doesn't happen.
What are you talking about? Are you just jealous? Yeah, he's jealous because he wants to get married to Diana, and he's like, Diana will fall in love with him, or maybe she'll die. I don't know. He probably doesn't care. I could see the jealousy in Saero's eyes once again. Something burned heavily in Saero's gaze that didn't dare fade away as he gripped his spear in a white-knuckled grip. Well, I saw that he killed Diana, right?
My lady is a queen deserving of the world. Not a harem girl for him to ravage in a cage.
Hey! I saw that too. I didn't know he was sleeping with her as well. Excuse me. Diana had been in a cage beside me in that nightmare I had. Did Saero see the same thing? I didn't get the chance to ask. Saero relaxed a bit and glared at me. Why are you mad at me?
Do not speak of what I am to anyone, or I will set your destiny to die at your husband's hand.
Oh, thanks. Appreciate it. Jerk. Without letting me reply, Saero turned and left the room, leaving me alone to absorb what had happened. I felt the air in the room slowly drift back to normal, but I felt nowhere close to it. How was this happening? Why was this happening? Everything began to clash in my head, causing it to pound heavily in confusion and stress. My thoughts were interrupted as the door opened again, revealing James.
Love? Are you alright?
Super. James. Let's give him a kiss. Mwah. I couldn't control myself. I needed some relief from his entire situation, and I usually found it in James's embrace and against his lips. I stood from the bed and walked over to him, wrapping my arms around him and pulling him into a kiss. James, taken by surprise, gasped against my lips before wrapping his arms around my waist and kissing me back. I let my mind sink into a blank state as I drowned myself in the kiss between us. However, I knew partly why I was doing this. To give James energy. If energy was what he needed to fight this, then I was willing to feed it to him. James pulled away slightly and looked down at me. As he looked into my eyes, he stared in soft surprise and confusion.
Love, is everything alright?
Super. I don't know what I'm supposed to do. Kiss him again. I didn't want to tell him what had happened. I didn't want him to know what was on my mind. I simply needed to help him in the only way I could, and I needed to not think about why it was happening. I pulled him back in and kissed him that much harder, wrapping my hands behind his head and gripping into him tightly. James didn't question me further. I bet he didn't, and tightened his embrace around me, deepening the kiss. Our mouths battled in a dance for dominance, with James winning and me giving in to his passion. I found myself growing weak in the knees with his kiss between us, but at the same time I was floating in a mental cloud 9. My mind knew I could stop now. If he asked, I would come up with an excuse for my behavior, but I was slowly getting into the direction I was taking James towards. As one of his hands slowly slid down my back and hooked itself under my leg and behind my knee, I knew this was my one chance to pull away before I let myself dive into a most needed sexual ride. I'd go all the way. You guys know, as always, I'll put a little thing like, skip this section here. I needed him. There was no point in stopping now. I quickly grasped his shoulders and pulled him, walking us back towards the bed and eventually falling back over it with him kneeling between my legs. Oh! My mind quickly became frantic, shutting out the world, the war, the castle, the other demons, everything from my mind. All I needed right now was James and his embrace to take me away for the night and make me forget. James slowly pulled away, a soft pant escaping him as he stared down at me. His pupils were blown in pure love and lust, gazing down at me with a hazy stare. James, I need you right now. At the sight of James suddenly licking his lips, something in my core trembled, as his fingers slightly dragged themselves along my sides and gripped my waist. My waist. I felt myself melt into the mattress beneath me. I had unlocked the beast within James, and I was ready to take him. Screw the world for now. The night belonged to us, and us alone.
Allow me to indulge myself first.
Oh. In what? I felt a hint of confusion run along my mind before suddenly feeling James pull up my shirt and ease it up, causing me to lift my arms above my head. What I didn't expect was him tying the shirt around my wrists and pressing my hands back near the bedpost. What? A deep chuckle echoed from James's chest as he brushed a hand through my hair, making me gaze up into his eyes. He didn't have to enthrall me to make me weak for him, but as his beautiful whiskey eyes began to glow a brilliant gold, my body began to warm and shudder in desire. I couldn't stop the moan from escaping my lips as James slowly knelt down and planted his lips on my neck, dragging his tongue over my most sensitive spot and slightly nipping at it. I tilted my head to the side, giving him more space to work as he slowly began to ravage me. My legs naturally wrapped around his waist, pulling him closer to me, but as I did, James evilly rolled his hips against mine, grinding his knee against mine and forcing both of us to release a gasp at the feeling. All I could think about was James touching me, holding me, kissing me, delving deep into me. My mind was spinning in endless waves of desire that I could barely control myself from pulling away my makeshift bindings, arching my back against James's chest. James merely paid in kind by moving his kisses to my lips, passionately dancing his tongue against mine in a battle of dominance. I was his to take, conceding defeat to his tango. I naturally tried to lower my arms back down to capture him between them, but James suddenly pulled away and forced my hands back above me, making me gasp and stare wide-eyed into James's dominant gaze.
Keep them there.
Okay. I didn't need to question him or his command. I nodded, willingly obeying despite knowing that his teasing would be the end of my sanity for the night. A smirk of approval slowly grew on his lips before he came back down and captured my lips again. I could only grip the fabric of my shirt around my hands, fighting every urge to disobey James as he traveled his mouth down my neck and chest, licking and kissing over my skin. Every part of me that was exposed to James became his to claim. Every touch he made on my body, every finger that traced along my skin made me shudder in absolute delight. My feet dragged themselves along the back of James's legs, teasing him and trying to urge him to come closer. As he did, he took his sweet time undoing my pants and sliding them off of me before removing his own, leaving us bare for each other. James barely hovered his lips over mine, staring deep into my eyes as our passionate night began to take off. Our carnal desire for each other took over, unrelenting as we moaned through the night together in a loving and passionate crescendo. I let everything go, tearing through the shirt and eventually dragging my nails along his back. His pained hiss between his groans and pants made me lick my lips in almost a sadistic manner, but feeling him slow and tease me as punishment reminded me who was in charge. The only sound to accompany our loving pleas and moans for each other was the creaking of the bed and the echo of our voices. We didn't give a darn who heard us. The entire castle would know who we belonged to, each other. Even as we peeked together, the fixation of our love only intensified, driving us to kiss each other and ride through the afterglow of our sex together. Is this not super awkward for Damien to constantly hear his brothers getting it on? James managed to open his eyes, staring down at me in both exhaustion and love as he ran a hand through my hair. I could only stare back, lost in his whiskey-colored eyes.
I am so unbelievably blessed to call you my own.
Me too, James. Yay! Our love fueled each other like a raging fire. We were destined to be together. Screw anyone who said anything otherwise. Let's hear.
I am so unbelievably blessed to call you my own.
Yeah, love it. Tell me you love me. We went to bed that night in each other's arms, enveloped by the peaceful dark of slumber. To my surprise, no nightmares came that night. All right. Oh no, and James is missing. So that kind of stinks. But we'll have to find out more next time. I hope you enjoyed the little episode here. Can you believe Saero's an angel? Like, did you have any hints of that besides the holy magic before? I mean, we did his route. I wonder if they'll do that if you do Diana's route too. I don't know. We'll have to find out. But did you see that? I did not see that coming. Anyway, please leave a like and a comment below. It's kind of like a little hello. Nice to see you for my day. It's not like a monetized video or anything, so it's just really to bring a little smile to my face. So hopefully this video brought a little smile to yours. So anyway, have a great day, stay sweet, and I'll see you next time. Bye!